Our planet is ill. We're well past the point of debating the existence of climate change. Overwhelming scientific evidence links human activities to global warming, sea level rise, ocean acidification, rainforest destruction, mass animal extinction, and a host of other terrifying realities. We know time is limited to take action, but the question is, what can the investment community do as we approach a point of no return? If only we could achieve the best of both worlds, where we could invest in proven high-growth performers and participate in cutting-edge opportunities with a net positive effect on our environment. Now you can with Stratis Private Equity. Our experienced team of private equity and energy investors has created a groundbreaking approach to deploy capital and scale companies quickly while remaining diversified and mitigating risk. Imagine transforming the toxic air of Beijing with carbon capture technology, or producing clean, reliable energy around the world by harnessing the unwanted byproduct of natural gas, or converting the 8 million tons of plastics dumped into the world's ocean every year into clean energy. These are just a few of the revolutionary opportunities Stratis presents. While Stratis portfolio companies have been generating a minimum of 30% average annual returns. Never in our lifetime has there been a greater need for immediate action. Now is the time for the leaders of today to ensure a bright future for the generations of tomorrow. To learn more about how you can participate, contact us for more information.
Hi, I'm honored to be here. My name is Rhee. I'm a tech investor. Initially, I started out as a lawyer, but I've been covering tech via through organizations like SoftBank. I was one of the committee members for the Alibaba deal. We grew that deal together. And Sonsang now, with $200,000 invested at $20 billion, is the richest man in Japan at the current moment. I remember when I was young and just graduated off of Yale Law School, went to New York and started working for a large corporate firm. I was getting into a lot of material things, and my father just grabbed me by the neck and said, "What are you doing?" So I said, "Well, you know, I'm a successful guy, and I get these nice watches and things, and you know, this is my lifestyle, and I'm a hot shot." And he's like, "Well, don't be pitiful by getting into money so much." So I said, "What do you mean? It's just lifestyle in New York City. All my friends are doing it, and I like the way it looks on me. Don't get into money and don't be pitiful and chase money. But chase something that you can feel proud of. Chase something that you can be really good at. And be of service to others in delivering that value to them. And money-wise, you'll have whatever you want in a fair and a scalable way. So don't be pitiful, don't chase that, don't be so competitive, but just really build yourself. So look into what it is that you love." So in 2001, this is one of the reasons why I joined SoftBank, to cover tech. And I've seen an evolution of how the technology has evolved to a point where the solution actually lies now within the technology, as you well all aware. Given the audience's level here, that I won't get into the details of what technologies are able to do today. We're seeing technologies that are able to resolve issues that are at quite a powerful, scalable, and effective, you know, the solutions, some of it which we've mentioned, already exist. But how do you scale this in a speedy way? As somebody pointed out earlier, the investors are not moving, institutionals are not moving, the companies are still not funded, they are short of debt, they're short of equity investments, and it's just not getting out to scale. We're still based largely in fossil fuel as an energy source. So I left a large organization in hopes about 2 years ago to find a way in which to try to get to that VIB through our methodology, which quite simply is we have to be able to work with assets that are already working. So if you look at tech companies today, there are assets, maybe not majority, but at a minority point where they're doing good revenue, and they are designed, because their products are designed to clean up, they're cleaning up the environment. And they are also contributing quite a bit to society at large by VIB hiring people around the communities and reinstalling these energy sources within those communities. And this is a global scheme. It's not just within the US or Europe. Asia is picking up now, although they've been quite delayed and behind. These technology companies, standalone, actually does not require our funding. So a lot of times when I go to them, they say, well, we're organically growing fine, but I think we need some help to scale this out further so we can actually make that social impact because our products are designed that way. Let's work together. We'd like to try to offer you some shares in this and there. So, you know, if you look at, with all this stereotype about how the sector is slow to grow, yes, it's true. I think 90% of the sectors are still not growing. But if you look at the ones that are working, my idea was to try to get that to a place where the business side of things would do the communications. You see, we need to connect as a community in some way. The only way to be able to make speedy, impactful difference is to be able to collaborate. I don't know if you saw the NBA game with Golden State Warriors this year. The teamwork was amazing. And that's the difference between last year when Stephen Curry took that last three-pointer with 4 guys blocking him. He could have just passed that and somebody else could have made the three-point shot. In the way that as human race, we're designed to collaborate as community. And there are assets here that are working already. It's beating the pants out of fossil fuel. And you guys know these details better than even us. Although we have a fairly nice overview of what technologies are working and not working, these are guys that are already doing great work. So in order for this to be scalable, our vision is to be able to organize entities. And this includes government organizations even along the way. This includes nonprofits. All these organizations have bullets, have intentions, even have resources internally devoted, but it's that fear of not being able to meet that validation, perhaps failing, that they're all sitting and not being able to see that what they need to contribute to make it scalable is just waiting. So what we're doing is to just take what is working as maybe 5% or 10% of the sector that is proven and scalable, and saying that that needs to be 30%. And not focusing on the 90% of the companies that are not performing. So it's quite logical. We just took the top guys who are working. So on our funds of funds piece, we took guys who are doing over 30%. Our criteria is 10 years, and these are big brand names. They've been producing great returns. And we took the top technologies within where we sit. You started utilizing all the resources within the SoftBank to GE Capital, to you name it, Carlyle Energy Group, to whoever, and then said, let's look at all your impact portfolios. These guys have been doing great. Let's make them even more successful. And VIB, through this, it made sense to people even on an economic sense. And that's the language that really united people together. We need to start someplace so that we can commonly come together as a team as the Golden State Warriors did. If you look at some of the press reviews and interviews that they had this year, nobody talked about Kevin Durant. They just talked about the team. Even Kevin Durant himself, who is an amazing player, by the way. I don't want to detract too much. But you know, he said, it's about the team. And as a society and as an investor community, we have an obligation to see these companies in the beginning stage because that's the start. That's when these companies take these capital and then go out and reinvest that into the, hiring more people, to, building more factories, to establish more infrastructure to build these things out. And then that product will go back into the community. So the community can have a way of uniting at that team level in which to rebuild that their energy source, which is killing us today. in the current situation. So it has to start someplace, and I felt that we have a moral obligation as well as a meaningful business play, because these are great returning assets, and I have really a classy, really the top guys to be able to actually aggregate all of this. So that's why we started with the financing aspect of it first. And it's been a great journey in terms of getting investors on board to generating the type of return that's been even more impressive than the existing infrastructure like real estate or any other sectors at large. If you look at this chart, this kind of a collaboration, unlike the typical finance independent play that perhaps LeBron James, perhaps, it's more about LeBron James, are you going to score 60 points or 40 points? No, this time it was more about how each of these individual investors did their part as a community within our organizations to help seed the companies that are underneath this, which have been producing amazing returns and amazing products that are going out at scale and replacing and really competing and beating the pants out of the fossil fuel industries that has been manufacturing these kinds of plastics and you name it. And that community in itself sort of worked as a cross-referencing system. So within this community, we can exchange informations. We can help support technology companies underneath to go to newer markets and greater markets by having that validation within the community. So perhaps there's underneath this chart, there may be a solar company that exists within one aspect, and then the other regions, there may be a solar company that's more of a focused, centralized solar technology that's new but more efficient. It helped to have those entities that had already a 10-year history of supplying that to perhaps in this case Dubai government, that the new technology when they came in, the community aspect of collaboration really helped them to get on board. It also helped Stratis in terms of the general partners deal flow. When they were finished with their due diligence, they always ask us, you have 2 weeks, we've vetted this at a top level, are you in or not? If you're not coming in, we're going to finish the rest of the pieces ourselves. So it's through collaboration, what we're discovering, even as a proof, that when you team up like this as a society at large, as a humanity at large, in whatever sectors, and this model probably won't even just apply to finance. This is probably true in all sectors that may exist, that needs to really trigger a initial impact that community collaboration of different sorts will really make that speedy, scalable change that we're all looking to create today. So I've just kind of, even on the internal team, handpicked the top guys who had all the best experiences with all the returns, whatnot. And we've been together in a very tight way with this mission. Yes, the returns are great already, but let's stand for something more than that. And I've learned from my father that as a human being, what's really important isn't what you wear or what you eat or how you travel to international countries, but it is what service you provide to the people around you and the societies around you. And to that mission, we're really more keen on, although we have great returns, it's true, these assets are solid assets, we want to make that 5%, 10% now into 30%, 40% going forward. And that's been a really devoted mission. We have direct investments that we've identified and we've been working with. These are not typical investment targets that most private equities talk about as something that they just kind of know these guys and they won't make a move unless you... No, we've been working together with these guys for the last 10 years. We've vetted it already, and we're already executing. We have portfolios under our umbrella, and the private equity guys are even more together. I remember, because these guys are stars in finance, get interviewed by Wall Street Journal all the time. I said, let's work to try to create something that's a little more than you having another house in London or a yacht. How about we build something that really is a teamwork that's going to go out to scaling out the products, that's going to change the world, and that's going to really impact in a specific way. And everybody said, That's my life meaning. That's more than, instead of spoiling my kids with money, I want to build this with you. And to this goal, although finance is one aspect of this gigantic global picture, so anyway, this chart is important. So ultimately, as we pay out this return and continue to have, because the products themselves are designed to clean up, it's going to give validations to these nonprofits, to government organizations and corporations, to various foundations, the proof that they can actually execute. Because everybody's looking to not make a mistake, and they don't want to be the first. Well, when the company scales out, and these are very measurable cleanups, by the way, is not something that's guessed. These are, if it's a carbon reduction, it's measurable. When you have these kinds of milestones that are going out at scale, because the team is very powerful, I've only taken the best assets to do this, then I think these organizations will also form a team through the product and the effect that it's actually achieving. And that, what that will do is that that'll get these organizations moving as a team as well. So we're going to see a very powerful change going forward in terms of how we're going to get these also other organizations involved at the same time as well. Just as a, how much time do I have? 1 minute? Just as a last note, when I was working for a large company, I've always had a hard time getting up in the morning. I worked until 3 a.m. and I just had to get up, and it was all bureaucratic, and at the end it was all about just adding that zero to your bank account, which at the end of the day I can't even spend anyway. What's the point? But nowadays I am jet lagged. I just flew in from London 2 days ago, and I'm all over the place, and I don't hardly get sleep, and I'm working crazy hours. I am the happiest guy that you'll ever meet. And it's because we're really moving forward, and we're making changes. And it's all possible through the business aspect of things. That should be the language. If it makes sense to you that you're making money, and these are solid, proven technologies that are already at scale, whether it be investor side or the technology side, that'll bring people together is what I'm experiencing. It may not be helpful right away, but in the long run, they know that it's a win-win. It's not just a win on one side or a loss on the other. It's a win-win for everyone involved. There's nobody who's losing out in this model. So I'm just continuing to build this, and I just wanted to present this idea to you that perhaps this is a way in which we can help people to sort of drop the thought that opening up yourself to create a teamwork can potentially harm you. I know the fear has been driving people all these years, and that's perhaps why certain organizations have contaminated and you use planet Earth as almost like a trash can in the ocean. But we don't have to live that way. It's not too late. And as we clean up and as we build these corporations, money will go back to communities, and communities can and bring together, because it saves energy. It's building infrastructure within communities. And they'll come together too within that. And they'll forget about the differences, because if you go back to Golden State case, I'm sure they have a lot of ego, Kevin Durant or Stephen Curry, or I'm sure they feel that they're the stars. But when they really came together as a team, that's when 1 + 1 wasn't 2 anymore, but it was more like 6. And 1 + 1 + 1 is actually more like 30 if it's effective. And if you have 1 + 1 + 1 +, you get the point, right? It's powerful. And I think through this, we have hope that something great might happen. I think I'm over 4 minutes. Thank you very much.